Welcome to How to Get the Ball Rolling, SQTRs and You, with your host, Major Rufus Neil Brock. First of all, you're probably asking, what is an SQTR? Well, that is a Skill Qualification Training Record. Today's presentation, we will cover how to find and view your SQTR, how to enter qualifications for approval, uploading a document or certificate, and printing your 101 card. SQTRs fall under the Emergency Services Program, which is governed by CAP Regulation 60-3. Please feel free to look that up at any time and study it, especially if you're an emergency services officer or unit commander. You need to know that very well. We'll start with viewing your SQTR. First, open your computer browser and go to e-services. I've provided the link there for you if you want to take a screenshot. I'll hold on for a minute. And it'll bring you to the opening page that we all know and love. What this page does not show is the recapture block that comes in below the password. Make sure you click that. Make sure you give the loading page time to load all the information on the front. If you get in a hurry and click submit too soon, you'll just have to do it all over again. Moving along. Once you're in e-services, look in the upper left-hand corner for the little icon that says menu. Click on menu. The menu will appear as a drop down, and you then select operations. I've circled it here with an orange crayon. Once you click operations, you need to click on operations qualifications, which will open up yet another page, which will look like this. Again, in the upper left-hand corner, there will be a small link that says Ops Quals in red with a downward pointing arrow icon beside it. Click on that. That will bring a drop-down menu. You see here the large page. And once again, over here under Emergency Services, it'll have SQTR Entry/Worksheet. Click that. Now a page will pop up that is fairly blank, but I've zoomed in on the portion that you need to fill out. Put in your CAP ID. Click the little magnifying glass, and that will find you and get you to where you need to select your qualification training record. Once that's brought up, as you can see here, I had put my CAP ID in. It has come up with my name, and there are two drop-down menus. The one on the left-hand side will by default say Emergency Services. Just leave that one alone. You don't need to mess with it for this exercise. And select on the right-hand side, this drop-down menu, which specialty you're looking at. At last count, there were over 40 specialties. There is something there for everyone. Anyway, find the one you're looking for. In this case, I have selected Flight Line Marshaller. Click that, and boom, you have arrived at the SQTR page. Now you notice on this particular page, there are some blocks that are already colored in. We will cover that later, but those are tasks that have already been completed. But this is how it will look on your page. If you have not accomplished any of the tasks, all the blocks will be gray. If you have accomplished tasks and had them approved, they will be green. Moving right along. Parts of the SQTR. There are 7 parts generally on the SQTR. Part 1 is the prerequisites. That's everything you need to have done before you can begin training in that specialty. For most entry specialties, such as flight line marshaller, MRO, ground team member 3, those come to mind. The prerequisite is your general emergency services rating. The GES, that is your key to the wide world of emergency services. Get that done as soon as you can after joining Civil Air Patrol, and you'll be able to enjoy the wide variety of emergency services training and operations that we have available. Once you have completed your prerequisites, that's when you go to your commander, request that they approve your prerequisites. And commanders, I need to stress, this is just not a pencil whipping exercise. You need to look close at your individual requesting approval and know that they are ready to begin training. What you're doing, in effect, is certifying that this person has met these prerequisites and is capable of attempting and successfully completing the training. And this is a must that you must sign off. I don't know how many times over the years I have been in an exercise or even a live mission, and folks come up in a trainee status and they don't even have their commander's approval on their SQTRs. Once you have the commander's approval, you move on to familiarization and preparatory training tasks. These are your basic tasks that the National Emergency Services Directorate has decided long ago that a person must master before they can move on to really a trainee status. At this point, they are just a candidate. They have not really been prepared to be in the field on a mission or on a SARX at this point. You can think of this as squadron training, hangar training, your basics. Once all the familiarization and preparatory training tasks are completed, once again, the commander must give their approval for the familiarization and preparatory training. Now, this really is important. This is where the commander is certifying that this individual is competent and has received proper training and is equipped to go to the field. Because after this approval, the candidate now becomes a trainee. Trainees can go to the field. Once again, I don't know how many times I've been on a SARX or even a live mission, and folks come in, they don't have this approval. Heck, they don't even have the equipment. They just heard that something was going on and they wanted to be a part of it, and they just showed up. Unfortunately, we have to turn them away because they are not ready, neither skill nor equipment wise. This is also commander's vetting process to make sure that the person is mentally, physically, and emotionally capable of performing the emergency services job that they are trying to do. Search and rescue, disaster relief, very serious business. We got to come with our A game. And this really is the first step between the commander and their emergency services officer back at the unit. Can decide, is this candidate or trainee ready to go to the field, because once they're in the field, they will need to move and operate as a qualified member of the team, even though they haven't reached that qualification yet, and we'll be moving on to further qualifications here in a moment. The next is advanced training. These are your final tasks, the polishing, if you will. Your advanced training takes place at either a SARX or on a live mission. But they can only participate in a live mission if they've had that commander's approval for familiarization or preparatory training. And if you'll notice, all these sections build upon one another. Just like building a wall, you got to start with a foundation and build up. These training tasks typically are taken care of at a SARX or on a live exercise, but they can be completed in squadron training. More often than not, though, they are done on an exercise. Part 6, exercise participation. Every specialty requires at least 2 exercises to be participated in. Now, these can be SARX, it can be a large-scale training exercise, or it can be a live mission, be it disaster relief like the pods, or an ELT search, or in some cases, maybe even the COVID mission, where you were acting as a member of the Instant Command Staff or an MSA or something like that. These are required missions. And finally, Part 7, continuing education. Some SQTRs have this at the bottom. I think most of them do. And most of it is taking the Part 117 Emergency Services Continuing Education exam. Let me go back to prerequisites for a minute and speak. Originally, I'd said, General Emergency Services is required for your initial. Let me talk about some of the advanced qualifications. There are many prerequisites. For example, to be a mission observer trainee, you have to have been a mission scanner. That is one of the prerequisites. IC jobs, your ground branch director, air operations branch director, planning section chief, ops section chief, on up to IC. You all have to have had and been qualified in the lower specialties, ground branch, moving on to planning section chief, and then planning section chief, you move on to ops chief, and then on up to IC. All these build upon one another, and those would be your prerequisites for the next level. All right, now moving into entering qualifications for approval. This is very important that you do this right. If you do not, you do not get credit for the work you have just done. We'll start at the top. Commander's approval. I have put down commander's approval for familiarization of preparatory tasks. However, the process is the same for either approval for familiarization and preparatory as it is for prerequisites. Okay. When you get to the point where you need the commander's approval, you put in the date. If there is a mission ID, certificate ID is not applicable. Neither should the mission ID for that matter, but put in the date, click the block, and at the bottom of the SQTR sheet that was on your computer, you click submit. and that will automatically populate in your commander's dashboard. They will go in and approve or disapprove your request. However, that is something that really needs to be done. It's part of the vetting process to have good qualified emergency services operators out there in the field. And it's really a legal obligation on, obligation on the part of the commander, that they are saying that when they send these people out, that they are ready and equipped. All right, entering qualifications. Okay, now we're into the nitty-gritty, the actual tasks. Once you've got your SQTR pulled up, you will select a task. In this particular situation, we are on the ground team member 3 page. The individual has selected the prepare ground team individual equipment, your 24-hour pack, your 72-hour pack. What they need to do is click on the task that they're going to work on or request to be signed off on, enter the date that the task was completed. The next block over, they will put the evaluator, their cap ID, and when they do that and hit enter, a new block will pop up. Or when they click on that, a block will pop up and they will put in the cap ID of the evaluator. And that block will show the name and what that evaluator is qualified to evaluate. There have been some recent changes in the last year. Folks that were qualified to be skills evaluators for many years in certain qualifications have had them taken away or redistributed in their groups. And that just is an exercise in making the administration of the skills examiner or evaluators more manageable. It's really no reflection upon the individuals themselves. It's just we were getting so many. I was told that it was hard to manage them all, and so they whittled them down to the ones that were really active and try to spread them out across the groups. And I can see the rationale behind that. But once again, you bring up that block, put in your cap or the evaluator's cap ID, hit enter, and if they're qualified for that specialty and qualification, it'll populate their number where it says evaluator. Now, if this was done on a mission, whether be it live or training, you'll have a mission number. It'll be typically something like 22-T-1234, something of that nature. And that will go in there. And once again, if there is a certificate involved, in some of these cases, you may be inputting a document, which I'll show you how to upload those here in a minute. And you'll put the certificate ID, your instant command specialties, or not specialties, classes, qualifications, your 100, 200, 300, 400, 700, 800, some of your more advanced training classes that you're required to have as, to hold advanced ratings, like the AFRCC rescue coordination course or manager. I think it's changed names now, so don't hold that against me if I boogered it up. Down here in the slide, it goes over the steps. Now, it also says, mission number is not required unless the sign off was done on the mission. That's correct. you may be doing at squadron training, and where you have an emergency services night, and your ES officer and other qualified folk will be teaching different tasks. Now, let me emphasize something. There's a difference between who can teach and who can sign off on a task. In my opinion, anyone can teach a task. However, there are only a select few that are able to sign off on that task. That being said, skills evaluators, make sure that you have observed that person doing that task. Not just another cadet or another senior member saying, oh yeah, I saw him do that. Make sure you see it for yourself. I know this is happening because I have encountered individuals on missions and asked them to tie a square knot or a double half hitch. And these are supposed to be ground team member ones, and they just give me this blank stare. Whereas, I may have a cadet airman who's also an Eagle Scout, and he could probably tie 2 or 3 dozen knots without thinking. So, skills evaluators, make sure when you sign off that person knows that skill. Question them. If you haven't actually seen them perform the skill, it may be where you can ask certain questions, and you'll know if they're trying to buffalo you or not. Okay, once you have filled out the information, click that block or that check mark. Now, before I move on to submitting it, I want to point out that oftentimes after an exercise, you have completed several tasks, and that can be kind of arduous to go through and put all this information in, submit, do the next one, submit. What you can do is fill all the information out on one, and click. In this case, there's 3 other tasks present. We'll pretend we're clicking those. And then over here in the right-hand side of this little block that's blue, what that basically is a copy button. You hit that, and it'll copy the information you put into the blanks in these other 3. And then you can go to the bottom of the page, it's down on the left-hand side, and click Submit. Once that's submitted, you'll get a block that comes up like this, basically saying, are you sure you're ready to submit these? It's a great time to kind of look back onto the screen and make sure you got all your ducks in a row, all your numbers in, and so on and so forth. Click OK if you're good to go. Alrighty, what will now happen is the tasks that you submitted will now be yellow, or the band at the top will turn yellow, saying it is pending. And what that is once you submit these, they will show up on the dashboard of the skills evaluator that you put their number in. In this case, I blocked out the skills evaluator number for their privacy. After the skills evaluator goes in and verifies, yes, this person did this task on this date under my supervision, they will validate it, and your block will now turn green and say active. That means you're good to go on that task. That is done. Okay, move on to the next section. After you've completed your advanced tasks, or while you're working on your advanced tasks, you will need to participate in 2 qualifying exercises. Like I said, they can either be a training exercise or they can be a live mission. I think in my own experience, I have gotten just about as many on live missions as I have on training missions when it came to exercise participation. And once again, like before, you fill in your date, your evaluator, your mission ID, and it shows certificate ID, but I've never had to do that on a mission. However, someone in the audience may have come across an occasion when that's been applicable, and I'd be happy to hear about it in our question and answer session. Okay, it's the same as submitting a task. You put in the required information, you click the check mark or the check block, hit submit, and it will show up on the evaluator's dashboard, and they will hopefully approve it. Like I said, this one is for a flight line marshaller. However, it looks the same on all the other SQTRs. Now, this is very important. On exercise participation, it has to be signed off by a qualified supervisor. And so you ask yourself, who is a qualified supervisor? Glad you asked, because National has thought of that and graciously provided this chart. And I have provided you the link on the side to find it. This is on the GoCivilAirPatrol.com Emergency Services Education and Training page. But we'll go over this real quick. Down the left-hand side here will be a whole list of specialty or supervisor levels. And once again, you'll have specialty tracks up here. And, you know, like you've learned in school to in graphing projects, you just follow over, and where there's an X, that's where this supervisor is authorized to sign off the exercise participation on your SQTR. You look up here, Instant Commander. They can sign off on anything. Operations Section Chief, not so much, but still a lot. And then you get down to some of these other specialties that are lower down in the pecking order, if you will. And there's only maybe 1 or 2 areas that they can sign off on as a supervisor. Now, this is a really handy chart. It also brings up the point that there are times when there are CAP members that can sign an SQTR and not be qualified in that specialty. For example, the Instant Commander. They can sign off on exercise participation on any specialty that participated in the event that they are the IC on. This is extremely important in specialties that don't have a lot of members in them. For example, the UAS pilots and technicians. There's not a lot of us in the wing, so it may be a situation where a team gets deployed on a search and rescue mission, and to get certified for that exercise participation, really the only person that could sign off on that would be the Incident Commander, even though they may not be a qualified UAS pilot. That's a scenario where I could see that come in. Likewise, if the Incident Commander has just worked his way up through as mainly a ground person, They could sign off exercise participation for a mission pilot or a mission aircrew. So there's your qualified supervisors. I know in years past there was a big question that who could sign off what, and National came up with this chart a few years ago. And it was in some of the other regulations and publications, but they dropped it out of the one I was thinking of, but they kept it on the web page for our reference, and I'm so grateful for that. Important notes, very important notes. After receiving sign-offs, you should immediately add these to your SQTR in e-services for the set to approve. Now, I borrowed this slide. I generally don't refer to skills evaluators as set. SET is an acronym for Skills Evaluator Training. I like to refer to them as plain skills evaluators or just evaluators. Do not wait. I can speak for a lot of senior members, myself included, myself especially, that if you don't go ahead and put it in on your own accord, I may forget what you did. And if you go up 6 months later and put it in, I'm going to be drawing a blank. Now, in some situations, your evaluator will put them in for the entire group that was training. And that's great if they can remember to do it. So it never hurts to verify that they're going to do that. If not, go ahead and put it in yourself like I showed you how to earlier. Then, they also makes the point in this slide that the evaluator may no longer be an evaluator, or excuse me, a CAP member when you go to enter it. There are times where people just, life gets in the way and they drop out of CAP, or they get old and retire from CAP, and they're no longer qualified to be a skills evaluator. And so the work you did, you'll have to do over with another evaluator. Do not lose your SQTR. And this is speaking of printing them out. And if you go back and look at the SQTR in its whole on the page, there is a option at the bottom left-hand corner to print your SQTR, and it will print out a version of the SQTR with the task that you have already completed and had approved populated in. So it's not a bad idea to have a paper copy. It's also a good idea to have a file on your computer where you keep all that stuff and back it up on a regular basis. It's nice that National and the Wing are able to store a lot of things in the cloud, but sometimes things happen and things get lost. So it makes your argument a lot better if you have some evidence that you can say, look, I did this, this, and this on these dates. And whoever you're showing it to, your qualified supervisor or your evaluator, can look at it and have a place to start to verify your information, which is great because it's easier to do that than go back and do 6 months of training over. All right, here's another one. I think I've almost talked too long. All right, by my count, I've got 6 minutes left before I hit the magic 40 minutes. Uploading documents into e-services. Now, this is something that's required as you're getting started. You may need to upload your IC 100, 200, 300, 400, 700, 800 certificates, or you may need to upload some pilot information, or there's all kinds of documentation that may need to be uploaded. Once again, log into e-services, navigate to your SQTR entry worksheet, put in your cap ID, and it'll come up with that same little block where you select your achievements. But you'll see 3 little items: view qualifications, where you can go in and view everything that you've already accomplished. View/upload documents, same deal. It's going to show you the documents that have already been uploaded, and those that's where you put in or upload your new documents, and then there's instructions about how to use the page. What you'll do is you'll click on View Upload Documents. However, before you do that, unless you have already got an electronic copy, I know the FEMA courses, they'll give you a link to a copy that you can download as a PDF file, and you've already got that on your system. If it's a piece of paper, you'll need to scan it and save it to somewhere on your computer where you can find it, because you'll need to use that location to upload it here in a minute. All right, once you click on this page here, once you put your information in, you click your achievement, or not achievement, click View and Upload Documents. This box will pop up, and it's rather busy. First of all, you would select the specialty you are wanting to upload to. And then, once you've done that, you'll click on this Choose File, and that's where a little block will pop up, and it'll look different on different computers, to where you will navigate to the file you're wanting and click Open. Once you do that, the name of the file will appear in the block beside this right here. Once that's populated, you then click Upload ES Files, and that will upload it into the system. Now, once it's uploaded, you may need to refresh your computer and go back and come back to this block. It will populate down here in this table. For example, here is a CAP Form 91U that was uploaded, and the data was uploaded in other courses. And that will show your evaluator when they go to approve the your submission for ICS 300, for example. They'll see the files in there. They can look a file and say, okay, they're good to go, hit approval, and you get qualified for that task. Printing your 101 card. This is fairly simple. You navigate to the Ops Quals page, hit the Ops Quals drop down, come down to 101 card, click that, punch in your cap ID or your name if you don't remember it, but I suggest you memorize your cap ID because you'll use that on everything in Civil Air Patrol. And boom, a copy of your 101 will appear. Once again, it'll look different on different pages. It's size-wise on my computer, it only occupies about a third of the screen. But it'll be a electronic copy of your 101. It'll have your picture that you should have uploaded already into e-services. You'll have a physical description. You'll have your name, cap ID, barcode down here. Over on the right-hand side, it will have the specialties that you are either qualified in or are a trainee in. And at the top, it'll have a block describing what the different icons beside the abbreviations are. For example, if it is a diamond, it means you are a skills evaluator for that specialty. Over here on the far right-hand side, this is basically a glossary of the skills qualifications abbreviations. It's not everything that you're training on. It's not everything that you're qualified in. It's just a reference. I know years ago, many years ago, when we first came into the system, I was signed into a ELT mission and talking to the IC on the phone, and he looked at this and saw all these things and thought that was everything I was qualified in, and he asked me how I had time to maintain all, at the time I think there were 36 specialties, all 36 specialties. I didn't know what he was talking about. I was only qualified in about 6. And we were able to get that sorted out. But that is just a glossary of what all is available, and it's growing every year. Now, to print it out, you go down to the bottom of the white portion of the screen on my computer. Yours may look different. And you will see a link. It says to print your 101 card, click here. And the block for the interface with your computer will pop up, and you will set your different parameters for your printer and click print. I would suggest you print it on a little bit heavier stock than normal printer paper. And then if you have access to a lamination machine, laminate it, or you can buy these adhesive lamination paper or kits at Walmart and craft stores where you can, the two halves can go together, but they're sticky and you get really one chance at that. Also on this page, you'll see where it has a link to upload your cap picture. And when you do that, please read the requirements for your photograph. There are specific requirements. For example, no hats, a plain background, otherwise no flags or trees, etc. Please look at that. And then there's a block for you to submit or update your personal characteristics. And that's it for you and your SQTR. I thank you for attending tonight or today. And I thank you for your service to our country and Civil Air Patrol. Goodbye and God bless.